Modern monetary theory is not actually a theory. It's a lens. It's an understanding of reality that explains accurately what's happening at the federal level of budgeting, of currency creation. It's an understanding of how currency is created, how it's spent, and how it gets used, circulating the economy, and then brought back to the federal government in the form of taxes. It depends on a number of factors. It is an examination and an understanding of a number of factors. First among those is the government in question. The currency has to be the currency issuer. That is to say, it has to be a sovereign. The currency has to be a sovereign currency. It has to be the U.S. dollar, not the New York State dollar, for example. The Mexican, what is their currency? The unit of currency. The Japanese yen, the British pound, the Australian dollar. It has to be a sovereign currency so that the government in question has complete control over its creation. In the United States, it's a constitutional configured that Congress shall coin money. But in this case, they're not necessarily coining money. They're creating money most often with a keystroke in a federal budget application, spreadsheets, right? So they keystroke money into existence when they pay off a contractor to that built, for example, a battleship, $20 million, poof, into existence. When they pay salaries, federal salaries, all that money gets created and circulated into the economy. So the taxes have to be paid in that same unit of currency, right? You can't pay taxes in Japanese yen here in the United States. You have to pay it in dollars. Well, where did that money come from? Where do those dollars come from? The federal government. So one of the insights of modern monetary theory is that taxes don't fund spending. It's the other way around. Spending, federal spending, once it circulates throughout the economy, eventually comes back. Some of it comes back to the government in the form of taxes. So spending actually funds taxes, not the other way around. This is probably one of the most revolutionary insights of the whole lens, monetary lens. Another important understanding to have is that this currency has no intrinsic value. It's not associated with gold, silver, platinum, nothing. In a certain sense, a penny made of copper has more intrinsic value than a $1 bill made out of cotton paper. And $20 trillion debt has no intrinsic value. $999 trillion debt has no more intrinsic value than a $20 trillion debt. They're just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's the difference in numbers on two columns in a spreadsheet, two aspects of a spreadsheet, the credits and the debits. So these are insights. So an expression of modern monetary theory came, for example, from Dick Cheney. That's right, a right-winger who said Ronald Reagan taught us deficits don't matter. They don't matter. They have no intrinsic value. So one drawback, if you will, it's just, again, part of the fact of the matter, is that Republicans or conservatives can use this theory, this lens, to understand they can spend as much as they want on the war machine, as long as they don't spend more than what's available to actually create. Because then you'd have too many dollars chasing too few resources, and that would become inflationary. But if the products and services are out there to be had, they can spend that money and keep funding the war machine forever, just as progressives can fund health care for everyone, forever. The U.S. government can never, ever go broke because it creates its own money. It is the source of its own funding. So it doesn't, we're not going to, America can't afford this. That statement is a neoliberal hogwash, because the U.S. government can afford anything it wants. That's part of the insight that conservatives can take advantage of and progressives can take advantage of. But this idea that we have to tighten our belts is neoliberal hogwash. And again, there's no intrinsic value to this. So there's not any, our grandparents or our grandchildren aren't going to have to pay off the debt. There's no need, there's no concern about the debt because it has no intrinsic value. This old-fashioned notion that there's a struggle in the budget, in the federal budget between guns and butter, that's a gold standard argument. That argument is completely obsolete. We can have our guns and our butter too. So basically, as a rough outline, that's modern monetary theory. Thank you for listening.